Right, so I'm going to lead on from my previous video, which is going to be like informal and chatty and sarcastic maybe, and maybe a bit funny and whatever, and we'll go from there. And what I thought I'd discuss today was how to keep a computer clean and tidy, and how to save yourself some money by doing so, because obviously if you don't keep a computer nice and tidy, then people like me can charge you a lot of money to fix things and reinstall operating systems and things like this. So yeah, I thought I'd try and chat and keep it, but I'll try an informal chat, but I'd want to try and keep it as short and sweet as I can, because if it's too long then you won't watch it, so it's kind of a bit pointless me keeping it very, if I make it long it's just like, it's just not on. But anyway, let's get on with it then, I suppose, before before it does get too long. So, what should you do to keep the computer happy, nice, organised, and so that it's not going to break on you and it's going to last for ages, and you're not going to have to take it into PC every year or every 6 months to get things sorted. So the first thing you want to do is make sure things are up to date. Make sure your antivirus is up to date, make sure your operating system is up to date, whether or not that's Mac OS, Linux or Windows. Windows, actually, well, I would suggest that Mac updates, I'm not too sure whether or not, I'm going to scrap that. I was going to say Mac updates tend to be more, there seem to be more Mac updates than there seem to be Windows updates, but I'm not too sure now. I've just said that, so ignore that. So you want to keep your operating system up to date, because this not only makes sure your computer is efficient, it also makes sure it's protected against security threats and things like this. There's quite a few vulnerabilities that come out for all sorts of things, so make sure your operating system is up to date, your antivirus is up to date, things like Flash, Java, Adobe Reader, whatever else you use, whatever Office package you use, so whether or not that's OpenOffice or whether or not that's Microsoft Office. Stuff like CS4 and CS5 you want to keep updated as well, and pretty much everything you use on your computer needs to be up to date, no matter what program it is. It needs to be up to date. Obviously big programs like CS4, don't go out and buy CS5 because it's expensive, but make sure that any updates that come from Adobe get installed, so that you're always up to date with the latest vulnerabilities and security threats and things like that. Second of all, if you don't have an antivirus, get an antivirus right now, as well as a malware slash spyware sort of package. So Microsoft Security Central luckily has that inbuilt anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. But there's also two other programs which are really good and have been around for a reasonable amount of time. That's Malwarebytes and Search and Destroy. Spybot, Search and Destroy, they're pretty good. Basically scan it every month or so, like that. It's not automatic, unfortunately. I think you can set it as automatic. But they're really, really good, and that just sort of gets you out of the shit sometimes. But antivirus wise, if you get a virus, you're pretty much screwed. So do not keep everything, keep your primary storage there on your laptop, your desktop, wherever it is, but make sure you have a backup of it somewhere, because viruses can be a pain in the ass, and usually the easiest way of sorting things out is to reinstall the operating system. I would also suggest that if you're going to have to reinstall the operating system, that you create rescue disks if it did not come with one. So if your laptop did not come with rescue disks, and there's a flashing pop-up that pings up at you when you boot it up and says create rescue disks, create those bloody rescue disks, because if you don't create them, then you're up Queer Street, and then people like me get to charge people like you a lot of money to put a brand spanking new OS on, usually about 100 quid, depending upon what the OEM license we can get for it and things like this, but it's about 100 quid, 120 quid plus labour, which is usually about £10–20 an hour. So you sort of want to make sure that you've got rescue disks sorted, and that you know how to reinstall. And I might do another video, but I'm not too sure yet, so we'll not worry about that for the moment. So that's that. So make sure things are up to date, and then make sure, like, silly little things like if you've got a program and you don't use it, uninstall it. This is what I call crapware or bloatware. Unfortunately though, crapware or bloatware is one of those things that some people think is crapware and other people don't. I'm quite an opinionated person, so things like toolbars, all toolbars, uninstall them. That's what I do, because they're horrible, they're just waste resources, they're pointless wastes of time. Google Toolbar, Ask Toolbar, Yahoo Toolbar, So the bullshit toolbars that come with Norton and McAfee for some unknown reason, you do not need them. Just stick with your standard browser. Just it looks nicer. I've had some people have about 10 toolbars down, wasting half of the screen. You then cannot see the rest of what's on the web. So just don't do that. It's pointless. Uninstall the toolbars you don't need, or just uninstall all toolbars. In my personal opinion. Uninstall things that come with your operating system that you really do not need. Things like Nero, what's the other crap they insist on putting with things? Things like McAfee and Norton. Now, unfortunately, McAfee and Norton are probably the worst products on the market. They also cost you money, and unfortunately, the shareholders that own PC World, Comet and Currys and all these other places also own the same. The same company that owns Symantec, who also creates things like I think Symantec creates Norton, but I think McAfee is also linked with that same company that owns PC World, and I think it's something like Dixons and Currys or something like that, or Currys Digital, whatever it's called this time round. So unfortunately, they're owned by the same company, so that therefore means that when you go into PC World, they always try and sell you the product and claim it's the greatest. It's God's gift to antiviruses and protection. It really isn't. It's crap. I used to run it back in the day when I was when I was really young and I wasn't really into computers that much. Maybe when I was like 12, 13, I was just like, it just came with it and my mum installed it and blah blah blah. And then I kind of got into computers a bit and then found out that actually it was probably one of the worst products ever. So if you have it, please uninstall it. Don't ever pay for it either, because it's just rubbish. It might have changed. I haven't used it for a good 2 years now, but I haven't looked at it for a good 2 years. But from what I can gather from what customers are saying, what clients say, it's rubbish. It rapes resources. It doesn't do the damn job it's supposed to, and you have to pay £30 a year for it. So I would suggest uninstall the bloody thing. It causes so many problems. It's just rubbish. Uninstall it, put Microsoft Security Essentials on it, put AVG on it, put Avast on it, put anything else on it but Norton or McAfee, because they're crap. But that's my rant over anyway. So yeah, antivirus, of course you need that, but make sure you uninstall the crap as well that mainly comes with your operating system. Now, there's a thing that I'm going to tell you to never do. If you ever search to how to clean your computer, or anybody offers you any advice on this, just completely ignore them and tell them I'm a bloody idiot. Which is registry cleaners. If you do not know what you're doing, do not touch registry cleaners. Don't go anywhere near them. Don't install them. Don't do it, because you can really f up your operating system, and it actually causes more harm than good. So just don't do it. I would suggest that if you don't know what you're doing, just don't do it. That's across the board really. Like if you're installing a wireless network, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Get someone else to do it. Yes, it's going to cost you some money, but I'd much rather that than you then find you've got issues and then you have to call someone out, like I've been having to do with a couple of clients that I've then had to go and sort them out because the people don't actually know what they're doing, and therefore you actually, you sort of, in the end it costs more money than it does for someone else to set it up usually. So I would suggest that if you don't know what you're doing with anything computing, don't bloody do it, because it's just too much aggro. So software wise, what should you install to keep your computer nice, standing and happy? Well, there's a thing called CCleaner, which stands for crap cleaner. I should recommend that you install this, but you do not use the registry cleaner tool that comes with it. It's sort of like hidden on the side, but the default one is just crap cleaner, which basically like deletes everything. It gets rid of your history, it gets rid of your recycle bin, it gets rid of all your temporary files, and things like that. So it just makes it like a bit more nicer, cleaner, things like this. It's quite helpful. It increases space as well. If you've got like something like a hard drive, like a laptop with 60 gigs of hard drive action on it, you've got tons of music, and then all of a sudden you find it fills up. If you use that first, that usually clears out quite a vast majority of the shit that you don't need, and then that saves you up with a bit of space. So you want to use that. You want to use another program called Defraggler. I'll put a link in the description below. Defraggler. That's a really good graphical representation of your hard drive and your files, and it looks really funky, and it also cleans your hard drive well, and makes sure it's defragmented properly. Unfortunately, the Microsoft one doesn't seem to be very good, I've found. I mean, it might be great. I haven't used it for a good 5 years now, because it wasn't ever that great. It wasn't great in Vista. It didn't seem to be that great in 7. So I would use Defraggler. It seems to be the best on the market at the moment. There's a couple of other ones, but to be honest, having tested both of them, they're sort of, I think Defraggler's probably the best. And someone's banging and crashing outside my door. Boom, bang, bang, boom. What else? I'm just trying to think. What else? What else? What else? What else? And the other thing you want to do is use msconfig and delete some startup items. Now, this is another thing that is really good to do, but again, if you don't know what you're doing, don't bloody do it. I might do a video of how to do it and how to make sure that you don't things that need to actually run on startup, because there's a lot of things that run on startup you really don't need, and just, you know, it takes ages for them to start up. But at the same time, if you disable certain other things, then your computer won't run properly. So, because things like iTunes and Adobe Reader and Office and QuickTime and updates and all these other crap things you really don't want, decide they're going to start up, because when you then double click the program, it's faster for it to load. But when you're actually starting the computer up, it isn't that fast to load. In my experience, most people, when they boot up the computer, go straight to their internet browser. So that suggests that you're probably unlikely to be needing Office to open as quickly as it does when it brings up all these crappy startup things. The other thing you want to disable as well is the sidebar, especially in Vista, and definitely in Vista, and maybe in 7. If you've got these clocks on the side and these like funky widgets on your desktop, just get rid of them, because yes, they look funky and nice and isn't that lovely, but it also rapes resources. I mean, like, I hate people personalising their desktops too much. Just keep it simple. I mean, Windows 7 looks nice enough anyway, but you know, if you really want to, you know, customise it, put a different background on, but don't go playing around with stuff like that, because it usually just rapes it. Rapes resources, rapes CPU, rapes RAM, rapes everything else. So I would just get rid of them. I personally think they're awful anyway. I know it's your desktop and it's your computer, but they just look awful. I've seen some really crap things that people have put on there. It's like, what the hell are you doing? And that's pretty much it, I think. So msconfig, which you can Google that, but I would be very wary of doing stuff like that. Use CCleaner, use Defraggler, make sure you install the crap that you don't need, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, if you haven't created Rescue Disk yet, please bloody do it. It's fine for people like me, because it means I get money and I get a job out of it. But not good for people like you, because it costs you about 100 to 120 quid to get it sorted, and that's not necessarily including labour either. So that might just be the operating system that I'm gonna give you, which is the OEM version, which I'll have to buy a key for. So, you know, it's always a good idea to make sure you create rescue disks. Even if you've got a recovery partition, create bloody rescue disks. There's usually a thing that says it usually tells you either at startup when you first boot up your computer, or when you open the box it says create rescue disks, because it doesn't come with any, because we want to save ourselves 10p off of every single notebook we sell, which is like pointless, but you know, 10p, by the time you times that by 1 million units, 10p is worth quite a lot. So that's why they do it. But I know it's not, to be honest. I would prefer them to give it to you so that you get a better customer experience than they're not, and then you don't buy from them ever again. But there you go. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to leave it here and then maybe go on to another one, maybe a ranty one perhaps. But I hope you liked this video. It's not very organised, I have to say, but hopefully it's a bit more informal, and hopefully you learned something from it. Hopefully it's not too long. If it is too long, then it's too long, and that's just that. But you know, maybe we'll cross that bridge next time. But anyway, apart from that, obviously happy computing, and I need to figure out some way of ending this thing now.